I'm Luke Spurline. I'll be giving my presentation on the four main parts of symmetry, which are reflection, rotational, translational, and asymmetry. Here we have a butterfly which has reflection down the middle. Both sides are the exact same. Here we also have reflection symmetry, also known as line of symmetry, which cuts the image into two exact halves. We have a horizontal line that runs right where the base of the mountain and the lake meet up, and it divides the image into two exact halves. And the water reflects to create that. Then, to show this again, I cut out half of a heart out of construction paper and lined it up perpendicular with a mirror, and the mirror shows the exact replication of it. So instead of two halves, it looks like one complete full object. And it's also known as mirror symmetry. Here we have a work of art by Judith Braun, and she creates these by using her fingers, and she stands in the middle of the canvas, and her body becomes the line of symmetry, and she extends her hands and touches at the exact same spots related to one another, so her arms create that. And then we have rotational symmetry, where you only need to rotate part of the object for it to become symmetrical to where it once was. For instance, this piece is divided into 8, so if you rotate it 1/8, it'll be symmetrical to where it just was, indicated by the arrow. And then here we have a work of art by M.C. Escher titled Flying Fish. And if you look in the top left corner, you see the rotation is created by 6 alternating colored flying fish, the red and white, and if you were to rotate them, they would be in the exact same position. And then rotational symmetry helps to convey movement and progression. They're very well used for flow charts, such as this one. We have the man on top, and he starts off with a plan, and then he builds off the plan. He establishes connections, and then finally manages. Then we have translational symmetry, which, algebraically speaking, is a function that carries all the same points, the exact same distance, and exact same direction. So the musical notes move to the right and downward, indicated by the arrow. And then coming up next is we have a tessellation, which is when all the pieces fit and form perfectly together. And it's also a great example of translational because each piece has to shift to the left and downward for all the pieces to fit correctly, and indicated by the green arrows in the red spaces. You can see how it moves over. This is a piece of work I just put together for this presentation to show another example of translational symmetry. It starts off with the Bulls logo, and then it moves downward and to the right, indicated by the arrows. It's not like M.C. Escher, but pretty close. And the translational symmetry is used a lot in web page layouts. It's usually a rule called the 960 grid, which helps to balance and proportion the page. It starts off with a big bar at the top and slowly breaks down into two smaller, and it's just better than two big columns. And then we have asymmetry, which is just the complete lack of symmetry. It tends to break symmetry sometimes. So as you see in this one, there's the pink and white stripes, and then there's the pink blob that just totally breaks everything else. And then asymmetry can also just cause complete and utter disorder. Which, as you can see in this work, there's the complete lack of any symmetry, but it's also very appealing to the eye because it causes such variations in complexity, even with just these simple shapes of triangles and squares. Then for this piece, there's asymmetry can cause a piece to direct the viewer's eye, and that's done with the blue square compared to all the black and white lines. It just grabs the viewer's attention. So which one do you use, asymmetry or symmetry? It's really up to what you're working on. For instance, a asymmetry piece is more heavier. It draws your attention more, while the symmetrical piece is used more for patterns, layouts, and just something that's visually passive. Thank you very much.
Slide sorter view, that next icon over to the left, yeah. So that way people want to ask about a particular slide, they can.
Any questions?
How many of your pictures that you used were actually ones that you did yourself?
The two that were my own were the bulls and the heart.
Okay.
Frankie.
Why did you choose to have the that color in the background instead of bleeding out the pictures?
Just because I wanted to focus in on the pictures, because it just takes up the whole page. You don't really have anything to focus in onto. So I just thought the blue let your eye into it.
Yeah, fortunate in that way in what you found then, because actually you could end up with some things that aren't very harmonious with that, with using so many pictures that you found from other sources. So that was lucky that.
Yeah, I searched through a lot of them to find ones that really stuck out.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the best ones.
Okay, questions, comments? Come on. Which is the review team? Wow, what memories. I only read this 3 times.
On the one that you made yourself for the bowls, why did you decide to do that type of,
Translational symmetry.
yeah, like why didn't you do like a rotational one? Like what was your?
It's really hard to create the rotational, and I just couldn't figure out how to do it. So I went for translational, and I did one for the reflection with the mirror then. John?
You had a good presentation. Like I liked how you just like flowed through one slide to the next and just talked like right into the next slide.
Thank you. I tried to like build it up to like refer to other artists' artwork and then have some of my own, and then show what it is really used for in like the real world. With for the one that showed a progression for flow charts, then the reflection was really just the artwork, and then the grid, and then artwork again.
Yeah, it's a very good mix between practical, recognizing it in practical situations and seeing it in art. Now, I have a question. You did well in getting your pacing and all this sort of stuff, and you're not holding any note cards. So you're using what, note cards, or I was going to say, is at the bottom is
No, I wrote out note cards, but after just running through it time and time again, it really just.
You just didn't need to.
Just got ingrained. There's just 2 slides that I needed it with. Was the 960 grid. I always just forgot what I needed to say, but that's the only time I really need to reference them.
So it really shows that going through it again and again, really you really internalize it, and you don't have problems there.
Yeah, because after I put it together and I like started going through it, I was just stuttering, couldn't get anything out, and I wrote down everything what I wanted to say, and then like read through that multiple times, and then on the note cards just put little like hints of what to talk about.
Right.
And then it was just going through it time and time again.
Good, good, because I want everyone to understand that that could make all the difference. Particularly when you have a lot of different items, a lot of kind of subtopics within it, as he did here. The repetition of your own presentation is going to be what's going to help you get through it. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Good job.